All right, welcome everyone to our very first live art stream and art team AMA. It is 7 a.m. Pacific on March 15th. We are going to do a second one actually later in the day at 5 p.m. Pacific, and Gears will be joining us as well. So, a different experience for a different audience, perhaps. Of course, you're welcome to attend both. We're recording this for YouTube as well as the time lapse of the live draw that'll be taking place. So, yeah, just welcome everyone. My name is Joshi. I'm former
Woohoo!
community lead, now marketing manager. We've got Gribble Wiggle Wiggle, actually, is Nina. Nina, good
Yeah,
morning.
wiggle, wiggle, wiggle.
Uh,
Hello, guys.
Go ahead and introduce yourself, what you do here at DuskBreakers, and a little about yourself.
Yeah, thank you for introducing Josh. I'm Dina, aka Gribble Wiggle Wiggle. I'm a 3D technical artist in mental theory. I'm in charge to deliver the artist set to the engineer in proper way and easier way. And yeah, I mean, so excited to invite at this live stream. And yeah, let's stream now. Thank you.
And next up, we'll introduce Jonas. Jonas, please let us know more about your role here and yourself.
Hi, yeah, Jonas. I'm from Sweden, Stockholm, Sweden. I've worked in the industry for 22 years now, games all through. I've been an art director for the last few years, and that is what I'm doing here. I'm trying to art direct, create an art direction that will work for, not just one project, but multiple projects. And multiple devices, mobile phones, PC, console, whatever. So yeah, super exciting. Almost a year now with Meta Theory.
Excellent. And Mr. Pidge, aka Davide, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, I'm Davide, the webcomic artist, and I started here in Metafury in November, right? And today I will be drawing one panel from the next chapter for the webcomic. So, like, I can start the stream.
Yep.
Just to okay.
Yep. So Davide is Italian speaking primarily.
Yeah.
And so just for ease of conversation, we're going to have him be drawing primarily. So Jonas and Nina will be answering most of the questions here. But if you do have a question directly for him, please do let us know. And of course, you can give him compliments about the drawing that's going on. So would you actually, Jonas or Nina, perhaps set up what Davide is working on here?
Sure. Yours, can you introduce him? Like, because you're the director and the manager.
What are we looking at here, Jonas? What's he going to be working on?
Oh, I don't know if we were gonna
uh,
say that. One of these characters is at least a character that's been featured quite a lot in the last few episodes. So yeah, is it? There's no secret.
One character is recognizable for sure.
right?
So
Yeah.
Yeah, if everyone checked the comics.
yeah, if you're unfamiliar with the comic, I will drop a link here. But Jolie's Journey is our first webcomic that came out last year.
Mhm.
Jonas, would you like to tell us more about just those 7 chapters that we've got published already?
Uh, so we follow Jolie, which is the little girl to the left here. This is, of course, a younger version of her, and you see her becoming a breaker and venturing into the dusk and finding herself and
Mhm. Mhm.
facing her own demons a little bit. So yeah, that's the story in short. Yeah, I think maybe others would be better to explain more in depth about these characters. But
Nina,
Mhm.
provide more
Yeah.
context.
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed read all the web comics that we posted. Yeah, I really like the personality of the Jolie. I mean, she's very adventurous, and then it's like she's like I'm so ready for any kind of situation. That's why I'm really love her personality, and I can see that like this picture is the childhood of Jolie, right?
Hmm.
And oh, can you get like a little hint of the girl next to Jolie?
You're free to say whatever you like. We'll eventually publish it. So.
Yeah, it's a character that isn't already appeared in the comic yet, and this scene is like I choose this background specifically because um, it's a flashback,
There you go.
obviously. So,
Mm-hmm.
and is the character next to Jolie is really important to her. But I don't know if I can say anything more. If it's too spoilery or not.
Let me guess. Maybe her sister. Yes.
Could be. They look
Yeah.
similar, but I mean, it really could be anyone: teacher, mentor, babysitter,
Yeah, her
auntie,
cousin.
anything.
Yeah.
But we'll find out more about the characters. We just wanted to set up a little bit about what you're actually looking at. So, yeah, duskbreakers.gg/comic. There are already 7 full chapters from Jolie's journey, and it actually features a lot of the other characters that are Breaker NFTs held by community members, including Yuzu, who is here in the chat. So, good morning, Yuzu, Style Piggy, a bunch of others from our staff. Dave is here as well. So, welcome everybody from the team. Thanks for coming to check us out as well. So, let's learn more about art and the artists here at MetaTheory. I've got a bunch of questions. Really just trying to pick out which ones I want to ask first. So I guess the big one is, since we are all at MetaTheory and DuskBreakers, and the unique thing about this project is that it is a Web3 and blockchain inspired sort of story and game. So I guess I'll start with Nina. What is your inspiration for joining MetaTheory as an artist? What about DuskBreakers interested you?
So like one of the biggest reason that I joined this meta theory is like we can start from the bottom, like we just create a new word to introduce the user to deep dive in. And that was very intriguing to me. Like making a new universe in total, like that's something that we cannot do something easily. And like it's really hard to have a chance to make something from the very beginning. And also its story itself, like related to the dusk, and then all the city stories about the Machafuko, those are very actually interesting to me. And yeah, that's why I joined this meta theory. And it's very like making a universe and set up all the details, and then designing all the stuff in the story is very something very amazing thing that I can do in this company. So that's really something that I really love this.
Cool. In your
hmm
previous work, was it much different than that?
Oh, my previous company wasn't the game company. I mean, right before I was in the commercial agency, so like I cannot do like any something, I mean, it's kind of creativity job, making a commercial, how you can like get creativity. But you only follow the direction from your clients. If the clients want to make this stuff shine or bright or fancy, I have to make some city stuff shine and bright and fancy. So it's like I have no opinion to what I'm making. So it's totally different job.
Right. So you have a lot more creative
Mm-hmm.
freedom here.
Yeah, I
Cool.
love it.
And Jonas, same question. This is a unique opportunity for an artist. So what attracted you to Metatheory and Duskbreakers to be an artist for us?
Yeah, I mean, when I joined, or when I left my previous company, that was not a super easy decision. Like I really enjoyed working with my colleagues there. I was contacted by an old friend of mine, an old colleague, who knew people at Meta Theory, and he asked me like if I would be up to like speak to Meta Theory, like just be open to anything, and I was like, yeah, sure, why not? And I didn't know much about meta theory, and I read up a little bit about them, and I thought it sounded interesting. And in our conversation, they explained to me what NFTs or what they wanted to do with NFTs. And for me, that was huge because I've tried to understand more about NFTs. Didn't really manage to figure it out. And then their description of it just sounded super interesting. And I thought, okay, so I really would like to be in on this journey. And then, of course, to be able to create an art direction and be in so early in that process is a great opportunity. So yeah, it felt like I really liked the idea around NFTs, and I also liked the universe, the description of the universe, and what they wanted to achieve. So yeah, it was a no-brainer in the end. Quite an easy decision to join. Very nice people here as well. So yeah, really happy that I joined, and I would do it again in a heartbeat.
Cool. So, Nina, I'll ask, what is something that you've worked on at DuskBreakers that is, significant and that you're proud of?
So if I introduce myself with my works, okay. The first thing that I can say is I made the early version of the Kinshasa elevator, because I know about like the biggest elevator in our city in the Machafuko is delivered the dusk breakers to the dusk, the huge elevator that connects dusk between the earth. And I designed that the early version of the Kinshasa elevator. I mean, we definitely have more like update for design wise, and then we'll have more fancier design in future. But like, it's actually really honor to me because the elevator itself is very important. It's very important monument in Machafuko, and then without it, like Duskbreaker cannot even join to the dusk. And that's one of my work. And also I designed the composition of the title scene of Twilight Shift. If have you guys ever played it, if you see the title scene, I set up the composition of Mama Grivel with the the breaker holding the lights in the middle of the position. And we have a bunch of different projects internally, and I cannot reveal that.
Right.
But I'm working on like to make something very interesting project prototype right now and deliver the artist set to that project.
Excellent. Yeah, the Kinshasa lift is very, very important, especially in
I
world.
really can't explain it, but it's so interesting and I really love it.
Yeah, it's unique, and there are other examples in like anime and sci-fi of these kind of space elevators, like, but I imagine it's difficult to concept that something that doesn't actually exist. So that's cool. Jonas, same question. What is something significant that you've contributed on here at DuskBreakers or that you're proud of?
Yeah, first off, I'm really spellbound by watching Davide paint.
Yeah.
I haven't done that before, so I think he's sped up quite a bit. I don't know if this is his normal speed.
No, that's he's live. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you mean by speed up?
Like the pressure is on. Everyone is watching. It's I think
Yeah.
going
Yeah,
pretty
I'm
fast.
nervous, but I'm doing okay.
It's okay, you're doing great.
Yeah, I really like it. Cool. So the first things that I did when I joined was to look at the Gribble for the NFT. So I came in really early when that was just beginning. Like there was a discussion on how to create them. So I wanted to have them look like somewhere in between 3D and 2D, the NFT. And so we needed to kind of figure out how to produce the gribbles themselves, and then also how to produce the backgrounds for them. So that was, I felt like in my first, like last year, that was probably my biggest contribution to help out figuring that out.
And that's a big one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really huge one. Like I'm as a team member working in as with the Jonas, like all the art direction from him, like it's very, you know, it's like very precise, and then it's very,
Thorough.
like easy to see what he wants, and then what's how like he really guides well to the artist like for his vision, and then yeah, he's really great art director.
So we know,
Thanks.
yeah, that's great kudos. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we know that obviously the three of you are on the art team. Most of the people involved in the project know about Gears and his work in the first collection and previous career, at Twitch. But how big is our art team? Like, how Jonas? Can you describe like the size of our team and how many people actually have some influence on our art here?
So it's not a huge team. Davide and Gears is mostly involved in like the webcomic, the 2D production. We have Nina, myself, and Brian, who's also a concept artist. And then beyond that, I mean, we do have the vision team and of course the Mouse's game team, and there are artists in both those teams. So, but I rarely give feedback directly to them. So the concept team is fairly small still, but we might soon be more. I think we're about to grow a little bit. So, yeah.
Yeah, that is a fair thing to point out is that we are a very international company,
Mm-hmm.
and the team in Taiwan essentially was a team already when they came aboard. So there are artists of different variety over
Mm-hmm.
in that team.
Right. It's actually a really good thing have like multiple culture members in one team, and then we can also like listen little episode about their culture, and that's very interesting too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So how? I guess something I'm interested in personally is something like a Gribble or Asha, the alien entity that was introduced in our webcomic. How do we go from sort of knowing what we want it to look like concept research? Can you describe a little bit about the process of creating a new biological form? Jonas?
Well, when it comes to Asha, I should save that for Gears to explain. He was
Sure.
much more involved in that process. But for Gribbles and for like other creatures to come, I think the process has been, something we worked on, and that wasn't super clear to begin with. We have a lore team who writes, everything there is about the Dusk, the background of it, and so on. And then we have a games team who develops games in that environment. And then we have the art team that creates art for that world, right? So communication between us is super important. So whether a creature starts its conceptual phase within the lore team or with the games team, that differs depending on where it first is shown. If it's shown in the webcomic, for instance, then its origin is probably with lore. And if it's something that is featured in a game, it's probably where it starts its existence. So it's usually a communication between lore and game first, and then it's passed on to art to me, and then to kind of create a brief and give to one of the concept artists. And then it's a continuous discussion with either game or lore to figure out the final version of it. But it can take a while to get there.
Interesting. So for something like a gribble, it could have had 6 legs or 8 legs, or more antenna or tails or something like that. Is that more something that the lore team specifies before you actually start creating, or is that something that you also are like researching and offering options to the lore team to consider?
So I remember when we first started looking at the mama gribble, it was meant to be, part of that ecosystem or the same species as the gribble. So it would have made sense to have the same number of eyes, legs, etc. But yeah, we just figured, like, okay, let's go bigger. So do we add more eyes? Do we add more features on this thing, or more legs? And it's just at the end, it's a design process that at the end you kind of find out that, okay, so this looks good. This is what we're happy with. This looks frightening, or it looks cute, or whatever the ambition is. So yeah, we don't decide on that first, but yeah, I think lore would be more interested in finding that out early on, like the number of legs and so on, to just fit into the ecosystem. And game might say, like, oh no, we can't have 10 legs. That's going to be a nightmare to animate, so let's keep it down. So yeah.
So since we're on the topic, you did provide me this concept mama process graphic here that I am going to go ahead and drop in our chat, because I think it's fine. So and I'll also put it in the Breaker art channel. But yeah, Jonas, if you just want to point out or talk about the graphic I just dropped in chat there.
Yeah, I think very early on, the first time I heard about the Mama Gribble was from Nick, a designer who kind of just requested, I want the Mama Gribble. That's what I want. Give it to me. And the description was fairly vague. And we figured, okay, so it's a big gribble. And then we handed over to our concept artist, Brian, who made that first initial drawing, as you can see in the upper left corner. And that was one of 4. And we said, like, okay, so we think, you can just continue working on this. So he spent another day on it. And the second image, I think, is one of like 16 or something like that. He made a lot of them. So this one has like eyes on the front claws, and it has eyes on its head, and it's just covered in legs and spikes and stuff. So that was when we started looking at and starting to give feedback on it. So we thought it was too standing up too much. So I went ahead and drew that white version that had like it has 6 legs, and it has like those 2 larger claws. And I had a small description of it that, okay, so it still sits in its hole, but it's like hunched over the edge of it. And he has these 2 big claws that he can smash into the ground, but he can also use it to cover himself or herself. So if you shoot it, it can bring those 2 shields together and kind of form a protective shield. And if we didn't want to kill it, if we just want to wound it enough for it to kind of retreat, it could go down its hole beneath it. So then he went on and made a few more of those, like maybe 6 drafts, where he tried out different number of eyes. I think one of them had like 1 eye. And most of them had no horns that's been added to like the back shields there. But I really liked the horns, and I kind of we simplified the front claws a bit from that concept, but otherwise we were really close here. And then middle concept is like the final concept from Brian, at which date we kind of sent it out to an outsourcing resource to start to actually build this thing out in 3D. Then it's fairly different when you reach out to outsourcing, whether it's a very literal interpretation of the concept, if it comes back exactly like you drew it, or if it's an interpretation of it and like a different style and so on. So we actually got back a version in 3D that was fairly literal in its it looked just like the concept, and that wasn't really the intention. So I had to. The last image is not 3D; it's just me painting that model over in Photoshop to kind of show. Okay, so this is the level of detail that we would like to see. Less illustrative kind of details and more soft shapes and so on. Yeah.
Cool. That's
From that we just picture it and put it in the game.
Yeah, great explanation there. I didn't even know all that, so that's wonderful. Nina, you mentioned the Twilight Shift opening screens and things. Something that I've noticed, obviously, is that our dusk is very blues, purples, cooler colors. Can you talk about sort of the direction you had for that piece, and or were there some emotions you were trying to get out, or like I guess what I'm trying to ask is what informed these color choices and palette that we use?
All right. So in terms of the color, we have Art Bible internally made by our art director Jonas. So in there we have like color palette of each situation. Like all right, so what's the color of Machafuko? What's the color of the shadow district in the Machafuko? And then what's the color of the first layer of the dusk? So like we have very specified color palettes, and then we bring that color into our images to show the atmosphere that we want to show to the users. Like if it's something dark, and then definitely we'll have a dark palette. If you have if you see, or if you know the story about the shadow district, everything is dark, and then it's very downside. So you're using the very darker colors on our shadow district palette, and for the dusk, as you see, is very you're using very cool color, and then those color is selected by Jonas, and then it's the palette that considering the light situation in dusk itself, and also is considering about the vibe in the dusk. It's in the Cosmo, and it's very kind a little bit creepy cave inside, and then you don't know what will going to happen in there, and so it reflects all that vibe in the color palette. And yeah, we are using that art bible to select the older colors that we're using in the Twilight Ship to the title scene. And the layout itself is actually really easy to you know design it for me, because the design of the mama gribble itself is really well made. You see like very two big horn, which is very iconic. I mean the left arm and the right arm, you see
Yeah.
very big claw, very big claw, and it helps to user. It feels like, oh, that's something very dangerous, So for me, I really want to share something, dangerous feeling to the user. So put the mama gravel in the center of the position, and then in front of that mama gravel I put the one of the character, the breaker, and then show the difference between the mama gravel and the breaker's scale, so that you can feel a little bit dangerous in there, and then a little bit adventurous feeling as well.
Yeah. So I think I actually have this piece of art. I'm going to drop it in the chat as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's I've got it titled Gribble Attack, but that's
Yeah.
that's very cool. Does feel very dangerous. You can see the scale, all that. So it's excellent. You mentioned the art Bible, and Jonas actually had a hand in it. So Jonas, could you tell us more about the creation of that and what you have to consider when creating it?
Yeah, so it's the first time for me creating an art Bible of this scale. So it's not, if it's one project, it's fairly straightforward, and you just go like, okay, so this is the console. We're creating a game for, mobile phone or PC, and like what kind of performance you're aiming for and what you can do and can't do. But here we're doing an art Bible that encompasses both, webcomic, any apps that we're working on, or like games or web related stuff. There's or NFTs. It's all in there. So the world is huge. It's Earth and it's space. It's so many different locations, and Machu Fuku, the Earth location is huge. The Dusk is enormous. Like it's so big. It's just people might think like, okay, so the size actually limits it. So it's tiny in comparison to Earth, but it's like it's layered. So it's like an onion, right? So you have first layer, and then you go to the next layer, and each layer might be different, like on one end of the dusk and to the other. So the possibilities and options for us are almost endless. What we can do in there.
Yeah. So
So-
far we've only seen the Red Warrens, right?
Yeah, I think the Red Warren is the majority of the webcomic and the game. So I haven't. Have we shown anything else beyond that?
I don't believe so, but we can talk about the Red Warrens, inspirations and feelings that we're trying to create.
So I think it's normal for at the start of a creation of an art direction, you kind of you're influenced by other games, you're influenced by movies, TV series. There's just so much already made out there. Even what people post on ArtStation, for inspiration, it's a great source. So you take a lot of inspiration from other products or other productions. So for the Red Warren, I think the main inspiration in terms of coloring and the style, I think even though we tweak the colors a little bit and we don't want to go quite as saturated, there is a game called DuskBreakers. Darksiders Genesis was like the main influence for that.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's really interesting stuff. So we'll change topic just a little bit. Obviously, working in NFTs and something like the Gribble collection that we have that has just tons of colors and variations and all of that. Can you talk a little bit about the task of creating the Gribble collection and making it so varied and I guess how do we tackle that even from the very beginning? How do we make sure that we have a large variety or appealing colors and things?
Yeah, I think the initial, or did anyone else want to answer that?
Nina, if you've got.
I can also jump in.
David's here.
I'm back now. Yeah, sorry, I was talking
Welcome.
to Kevin.
Yeah.
Hey, Kev, he's in the audience down there. Um, So the question is, repeat the question for me.
Okay,
I'll jump on
so
it.
the Gribbles collection has tons of variation in colors, shapes, etc. And from the game, we had only seen, a couple of Gribble examples. So can you just tell us a little bit about the task or the challenge of creating that collection and making it so cool?
Yeah, sure. No, it was a really interesting kind of project. Uh, and we approached it from a couple different directions. At its core, we wanted to create an interesting collection, a beautiful collection, one with a lot of variety. We wanted to, as a new team who's sort of learning how to work together, understanding the space, learning, about how to uh, uh, create things like this at scale. We wanted to also build some technology that we could use moving forward. We settled on basically we wanted to create a beautiful 3D collection. We wanted to push DuskBreakers into 3D, and so this was a great moment to do that. We wanted to build some generative technology that would allow us to programmatically create basically an infinite number of truly unique gribbles. The core question we asked ourselves is, okay, we've seen PFP projects, and the grand majority of PFP projects are sort of combinations of a limited number of traits. So say 10 traits, 50 traits, 100 traits. You combine them in different combinations to create rarity, right? But what if every Gribble was unique? Gribbles, sort of like as things are in nature. You take a look at an animal, a dog or a beetle or anything. Even though two may look very, very similar to each other, there are minute differences that will allow you to differentiate, say, one golden retriever from another or one rhino beetle from another. Could we programmatically bring that into our own collection? What sort of technologies would we have to develop in order to do that? So we built some generative tech. Largely powered by Substance, which is a piece of Adobe software that allows you to basically node-based technology to create and modify textures and models, 3D models, and with minute variations among a limited number of traits. So you may notice that there are 50 body types of Gribbles, but the tool would allow us to ultimately create, basically an infinite number of bodies. So that introduces small variations, differences in height, differences in, say, placement of scratches, differences in pattern. That would allow us to take two Gribbles that look very similar and that may actually share the exact same trait set, but they are unique and different from one another if you look very closely. So that was the conceptual approach. And then actually implementing that was a sort of grand collaboration between Jonas, acting as art director and ensuring a high bar of quality for all of the Gribbles that came out the other end of the tool. A contractor that we work with who was able to teach us up and offer us guidance on how best to wrangle Substance and as sort of the core of the technology, but also working alongside Vision, our team in Taipei, who develops and our 3D animation capabilities, working with them to create a pipeline that would allow us to render the Gribbles at scale, and then also with our tech team. Working on the back end to manage the blockchain and that side of the project implementation. So it was quite a complex project overall. Many moving pieces, lots of people involved. But yes, the end result are some really cool, colorful Gribbles. Beautiful gribbles, and we do have the end result. We're 3D models, textures, and files that we can use in live game settings. We're working on that as well, and Gribble utility is at sort of a forefront for us. So that's a little bit about how the project came to be, and some of the background magic that brought our Gribbles to life.
Awesome. So that's new technology is something that our industry, Web3, is embracing, and obviously, anytime some new tech comes out, we're into it. We're checking it out immediately. I know recently there's been a lot of like stable diffusion with animation and AI, of course. I think I'll ask each of you one at a time here what technologies you're excited by and might or have adopted recently to help you create. Nina, what sort of technological things like new programs or does AI or Chat GPT interest you? Stable diffusion. What's your take on
I don't know. Is it okay to reveal it? But we're
it?
like one of the team. We're very interested into using AI to create animation. And yeah, so we're like in traditional 3D animation, we put keyframe for every wrist, every bones, every joints, which is take it's a time consuming, and like it doesn't have like flexibility between the animation to animation. So let's say if we connect to idle animation to the working animation, you see a little jaggy animation between the animations because it's blended automatically, and it's not like natural movement for the human or even the grables. But with this AI created animation, you can have very natural movement, and you don't even need to put all the keyframes all for all the joints. And this is the one of the technology we're digging right now. And yeah, I mean, we're so excited to show this kind of technology result in future.
Awesome. Jonas, same question. Any new emerging technologies that you've used or are very interested by?
I think just like a lot of game studios are looking at like these facial animations where you just use your iPhone to kind of record your face movements, and it just transfers them to like a 3D model. I think that is super interesting how easy that is now to do facial animation. But otherwise, I mean, I'm fairly stuck with old school stuff. So I still use Maya, I still use Photoshop. Even if we venture into create stuff with AI, I think we still would, in the end, kind of treat that and just use it as a tool rather than like the final artist. Yeah, I'm not super excited by AI just yet, but yeah, you can. I think at this point you can either embrace it or, you know, fall victim to it. I think you need to embrace it. I think it's yeah, it needs to be a tool that we figure out how to use. So for better or worse, it's here.
Right.
It's here.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah, right.
I agree. It's not going away. It will definitely improve workflows in various ways for various people. Not every case will be useful for meta theory or DuskBreakers, but it's important to see if someone's making huge advancements.
Yeah.
So, David, do you have any extra thoughts on these emerging technologies?
Sure. Yeah, I'm just I'm loving it. I was an art major in college. I've always been really, really deeply interested in sort of the intersection between technology and art. My senior project was, back in the Stone Age, was a my first attempt at a logo generator. So figuring out how to codify the graphic design process and automatically generate logos based on that. It was very upsetting to my art teachers. Um, and so just to see the progress in the tech is super awesome. I spend quite a bit of time every day reading up on the latest. Things are moving very fast. I'm currently most interested in GPT-4, which recently dropped yesterday.
Yeah, just blowing
Um,
minds already.
yeah, I mean, these text models are sort of paradigm shifting. Really amazing stuff. I'm particularly interested in figuring out how to train one of these to role play as characters from our universe. So exploring that on one end, and on the other, stable diffusion. Really excited about the diffusion models. Have been training them on some of our characters, and trying to figure out right now ways to use some of this tech to accelerate some of our art process. I'm interested in figuring out if a diffusion model could learn maybe some of Gears's or Davide's coloring techniques, use it to accelerate the art of blocking out concept, and having AI assist in finishing. There's just so much that could be done there, to allow some of the artists on our team to multiply their ability to share with our community, and to accelerate the development process. I really think it's going to be a democratizing shift, in allowing smaller teams to produce work that reaches sort of the level of their imagination, and so that we will not be limited by either time or budget, but more so where we what we would like to share with the world, and that is an exciting prospect, for an artist. I think it can also be very scary, but it is a huge shift. I think it is going to be an even larger shift than the one when we moved from pen and pencil and X-Acto knives and Xerox machines into Photoshop and the computer. It's going to be an even grander transformation. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I think just as a non-artist, I still consider myself creative. So I think that the biggest prospect for me as someone who's not skilled with my hands or Photoshop, I can use AI to express concepts and ideas very quickly to real artists that can then iterate. So I think the time saving aspect of it is insanely powerful and useful. So it does enable more people to be creative in ways that they were not before, and that's exciting for me because even our holders, our entire community could potentially have big contributions through these sorts of tools in the future. So just hearing things about not just like replicating art styles, but you mentioned even character dialogues for games, and that has uncapped potential as well, right? Like an NPC that actually has a daily routine and a life, and every time you talk to them, it's informed off of artificial intelligence of what they did that day or what they need from you. It's really exciting to think about. And one example I saw already was someone had built a World of Warcraft add-on in the last month that does sort of text-to-speech AI-generated audio for NPCs. That there's thousands of quests in World of Warcraft, but now you can download this add-on that is basically mimicking people, and it was really surreal to watch the video that they created, where it's like, go give me 10 ram skins or whatever, but it's like sounds like any other dwarf that would, they would have had to pay a ton of money for a voice actor or production time to actually create, but it's almost just like a skin that they drop over the game, and suddenly it's just a lot more alive, and that we can definitely use potential like that. Okay, so just backing up a little bit, since David did join us sort of partway through, we'll give him a proper introduction. So David is our Chief Design Officer. Do you want to tell the audience a little bit about your role here at MetaTheory and the teams that you work with?
Sure. Yeah. I'm David Barthwell. Chief Design Officer here, co-founder. I like to wear lots of hats. I like to touch on lots of different aspects of the business, but I primarily oversee our creative efforts. So that's our 2D and 3D art, touching on game a little bit. I am a trained designer, so I do really enjoy being able to throw in on our brand design, some work on the website as well. And something I'm super proud of is also being able to work closely with lore and world building and our writers. That's been really fun for me. So I get to wear lots of hats. I get to have many different things to concentrate on throughout the day, and that's a lot of fun for me. And I get to work very closely with everyone you see up here on stage, and some of the fine folks in the audience too.
Awesome. So we did discuss quite a lot, and I see there are just a couple of community questions. Boss Bjorny has been one of our more active community members throughout the year. Welcome. And he asked earlier, since David is here, I'll ask him, can you talk a little bit more about the new... He wants to know about net new things. Is there any new art or character or something that you can tease? We're seeing, actually, Davide is drawing something from the webcomic, a character we've never seen before, but we didn't really shed any light other than it's a Jolie flashback. But David, anything that you would love to share? I think obviously our community is always eager for new stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I can say that we are continuing to develop a true cast of characters that we'd love you all to be able to interact with, connect with emotionally. It's core for world building efforts. It's core for game IPs to have those characters that you can identify with, that you can sort of see yourself in, maybe end up disliking. It's important to create that emotional resonance. That is a bit of a process. I will be coy. I don't want to take the sales out of content and reveal anything here that would undermine their efforts to create that emotional resonance. So I will say that we have been very hard at work. We have a cast of characters that we would love to reveal to you, and that we will be revealing to you. There are a number of different vehicles we are currently exploring. We actually had a couple of meetings about this yesterday, last night, in order to deliver an experience that will allow you to interact with those characters. So I will say it's coming. Please continue to be patient. I would love to spill all the beans, but I've gotten in trouble for that a little bit on the other side, and so I want to give content a chance to really unfurl their vision. So I'll leave it at that for now.
Yeah, and I'm perfectly fine reiterating that these things take time. One thing that I've noticed as a consumer of Web3 and games and things in the last year and a half, traditional game studios don't really share all that much. Web 2, it's a completely different experience from Web 3, where December 21 through like April 22, a ton of projects came out, and we're just like, we're gonna have a game, we're gonna have this, and a lot of hype, and entire project lifespans came and went because they could not build a game. It turns out it is a lot of work, and it is a huge undertaking. So I'll just reiterate that concepts don't always lead to a product. We had we mentioned before that at the end of August or so, we changed direction away. Kevin mentioned Gribble Racing was something that we pivoted away from, and anything that you cancel or have to walk away from means that you've basically got to start again on something new. So it does take a lot of time, and even in traditional games, I feel like people have more patience for Blizzard or Valve or whoever than they do for Web3, because they're so used to just having a lot of promises and things given up front in order to have the buy-in. But we're playing the long game here. We want the highest quality, and it's not ready until it's playable and beautiful and meets our standards. So teasing that we're gonna have cool stuff, of course, is really easy to say, and it's much harder to show until it's prepared. So
Yeah, let me just
yeah.
comment on
Go
that,
ahead.
Josh, if that's okay. Yeah, no, it's such an interesting process. I mean, there are no there are no best practices for developing in this way. Um, you're absolutely right. Like the traditional method is you cook on it. You maybe push launch date if what you've cooked isn't fully baked yet. And then you roll out with a marketing effort. And everyone in the industry has been trained to develop in that way since the days of Atari. That's just how things have been done. And I think we are all learning alongside each and every one of you how to change that, how to develop in an open manner, a more open manner, to bring the community alongside that development, to interact with the community, to allow the community to have input on that process. Yeah, I mean, it's something that I never learned how to do. I, went to art school. That is not how my creative process was taught or trained. But I think we're all excited about the prospect of being able to develop in a different way. I think the community is learning alongside with the builders how that back and forth should go, and how to develop these new paradigms of working alongside one another. Maintaining interests and contributing and actually building. Keeping up the excitement around the project. I think we're all learning in real time how this is meant to be done. And there will be fits and starts, because sometimes you sit down and you realize you have to erase something that you put down on paper. And it can be incredibly scary as a creative to internalize the idea that someone may be looking over your shoulder, looking at everything you do, critiquing it as it comes out. Maybe they don't have the understanding that you draw something 10 times and you erase it 9 times, and that 10th line looks good, but it came from a process. I mean, unless you're Mr. Pidge, in which case you just hit your lines effortlessly. You don't have to redraw. But most of us are not quite that talented. So I understand the eagerness, and I appreciate it, because it means that you all care about what we're doing here. And as much as we can share, I'd love to do it without, overburdening you with the intricate details of what it takes to actually bring something like this together. But yeah, bit of a process. Excited to learn alongside everybody.
Cool. So we are about an hour in now. I see that our live draw has come to life. I mean, this is something I would consider this a finished product probably. But Mr. Pidge, what percent done would you say that this panel is?
I think I just need to do some finishing touches. It's almost done.
Gotcha.
I think there's also the missing part from the top and the bottom of this panel. Like there is like the background extending above and below it, but I think that I'm almost done.
Yeah, it looks really good.
Thank you.
So we'll, in the interest of everyone's time, we originally said the first hour would be, these interview style Q&A. If there's anyone in the chat right now that has questions for any of our guests up here, please do fire away. For right now, I see D-Lou in AMA chat. He's asking about sources of inspiration. I'll just hold just for a second there while I read this next. Okay, he's asked, there's some questions about the art Bible. We did touch on that a bit earlier, so I think we'll go ahead and start with the inspirations question. And I think that was kind of where I was going to end up anyway. So let's start with Nina and say, let's give some of your inspirations, and then maybe any bit of advice you might have for an artist trying to get into Web3 as we kind of close out our discussion.
All right. So for me, my inspiration. So, I'm really heavy gamer. Like I play game every day actually, and I played a bunch of different style of game. And like if I introduce me as a little bit, I have like more than 100 games in my Steam library that I've been playing.
Cool.
So, yeah, once I like get some explanation, so all right, lighting team saying we need this, and then like I go over all the explanation from the lighting team, and then oh maybe there is a game that has this kind of things, and then I go over all the games that I've been played, and then go all the concept arts of that games. So most of the games that I've been played, and then the games that it released, those are my inspiration when I do my job. So, I mean, those games are already our art pieces, so it's very helpful to understand about the design and then composition. So it's really helpful to if you're in the game industry. So please play the game; it helps you a lot.
Great. Jonas, inspirations and advice from you for Web3 artists?
Web3. I can speak to my inspiration as an art director. What kind of what drove me here? Like I wasn't trained as an art director. I worked as an artist and worked with art directors and just saw what I thought was good art direction and what I considered to be bad, and like I tried to give art direction that would have helped me as an artist. And if I were to tell an upcoming art director to kind of look at a specific project or a game, I would say Journey has a brilliant art direction. If they are interested in level design and how to like make the initial levels of a game, I would look at Limbo, a 2D platformer, which is great also, how they incorporate the tutorial into the gameplay, which is rare and not done as often as it should. So yeah, I think that would be my two areas of inspiration: Journey and Limbo.
And I see Nelson actually just asked in chat, what games did you work on in Sweden? Nelson is particularly interested.
He knows. So I used to work at DICE. So I worked on Battlefield games for about 10 years. Prior to that, I worked on Midtown Madness 3, a racing game. But yeah, Battlefield was a big part of my career. I worked as a level designer and as an environment artist for Battlefield. It was a lot of fun. And I especially remember enjoying working on Battlefield Heroes. That was one of my, the projects that meant the most to me. As I did most of the design and art on that, like at least on the level side of things, not characters or specific assets. But,
Gotcha.
yeah, and then I went on to working on. I did do Need for Speed as well, Hot Pursuit, which was a fun project as well,
Cool.
alongside the Criterion in the UK. And then mobile games for a bit, and then I joined the Web3 movement.
Nice. Davide, I see you extended the canvas to above and below, but there was already some art there. Is that something you drew previously, or is that like from the
Yeah,
software?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
I already drew that. It's not like I'm a magician.
I see. I thought the software was using some stable diffusion or AI there. I was really confused for a second. Okay. Cool. So yeah, there the extended frame that he mentioned there. You can see. Wow, the dropping water is very powerful there, and really sells the flashback. That's cool. Since we are nearly finished with the live draw and the discussion here, Davide, what are some of your inspirations?
For my style and art, I started uh, as a comic artist, and actually my biggest inspiration are also video games, and I play a lot in my childhood, like Nintendo games and RPGs, and also when I think about my coloring style, I see a lot of Western animation, like Steven Universe and something like Adventure Time. Um, and then I tried to improve my art in a sense of like digital painting and concept art, and I was really inspired also by games like Overwatch or even other Nintendo games like Pokemon and Super Mario.
Great.
I would say.
Yeah, Adventure Time. You mentioned that's one of my favorite series of all time. I
Yeah,
believe.
yeah, the universe is really amazing. The characterization of each character.
Yeah, I have a BMO T-shirt that I wear frequently. It's such a good series for adults and children, so I'm happy to hear that. So, all right, let's, I guess, close up the show now. It looks like a very wonderful piece of art there. We got a lot of information out of our team members here. So, I guess I'll just ask for, closing words and a goodbye. Nina, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. All right. Thank you for coming, this audience. And don't forget that we have another live drawing and art MMA on 8 p.m. EST. I'll be on there. So hope you'll see you in there too. And that we have different artists of the live show. So yeah, pretty excited to see that in there, you guys again. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Nina. Jonas, go ahead. Any closing remarks and goodbyes? Oh.
I was muted. Sorry. No, I really enjoyed being part of this. I hope we can do this more times in the future. I would have loved to tell the story of when Davide first joined us, but we can save that to another time.
Sure.
And yeah, thanks for this short live stream. Yeah.
Yeah. Davide?
Oh yeah, thanks everybody. It's like my first time doing stream with other people watching me drawing. Like I usually used to like just a couple of friends, and it's very exciting to me.
Cool. I'm glad we got to do this for you and get a new experience. And David, any closing remarks before we head off?
Yeah, sure. Just thanks so much to my team for arranging this, for volunteering, for speaking, and thanks for everyone for listening.
Yeah, we appreciate all the audience members and team who came to listen in. Thank you, everybody here on the stage, for your time this morning. And yeah, this was the first time in a long time that we've had some art on display here. So glad to share some wisdom and insights for DuskBreakers and our team with everybody. Again, these are recorded. I'll have the Discord recording on YouTube within a day, and the time lapse from the drawing will actually have as well available later on. So if you missed any part of the show, you'll be able to go back and see it all later on. And we do have another show later today, as Nina mentioned. That's 5 p.m. Pacific start time with Gears, who designed our first Breaker collection, and he'll be doing some Breaker artwork. So if you're interested in that, please do check out the event here on Discord, and we'll obviously mention everybody as we're getting started later in the day. So have a good rest of your day, everyone. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you again soon.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.